5. Looks like we have a guest here tonight. He's not on the new business, though, is he?
Well, it's
No,
Tatter and
no.
Howard for all the old
He
business.
comes under old business because all of the projects are old. We haven't
Okay.
picked up anything new yet.
Okay. So do you wanna discuss what we have to discuss with business with?
Well, we do the minutes.
You wanna do the minutes and stuff, or you wanna do them after?
Well, we've already signed, Dylan and I have already both signed
Yeah.
the warrants and abatements, we're gonna get the minutes out of the way. I had one typo on the top of the second page.
Which date?
Minutes from August 1st.
Alright, so do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Hold on 1 second, I need to know what it is.
It's just Pleasant Street at the top, very top of second page.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And I'll make what, did Dylan, you already making the motion?
I didn't make the motion, go for it.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as amended.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You have the July 18th on this too.
I don't think I had the jury.
Well, you weren't here.
I wasn't
You
here.
tabled them to the,
Oh, that's right, but they just. they're not
That's
out
why
there.
I didn't vote on it. I wasn't here.
so, all right, you'll sign the minutes, that one has a blue.
Yep.
You'll sign one. Hold on, I'll give you the sheet.
Did you print out all three or just the one?
Just one. Well, yeah.
No, that's fine, I'll just pull this one out, and it's whether you have to staple or not.
So the minutes here from July 18th, do we have to still vote on those?
Yeah, they were tabled because Art wasn't here that meeting and
Oh, okay,
you weren't, yeah.
I got you. Okay, have you reviewed the,
Yes. I had no issues.
no issues?
No issues.
Okay. And do I hear a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept the meetings from July 18th.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there's carried all the abatements and, all the bills signed here.
Sure.
All right, I guess you're up.
All right, well, I appreciate time. It's been a few meetings since I came, so I just thought it'd be a good time to come and give a general update. I'm gonna start with the asset management, because that's the only one that has kind of a time-critical component to it. So as you'll recall, a few meetings ago, we were talking about the rate study. And so since I came, Mass DEP reached out and let us know that the program is expiring this fall, and I think October they said. So they just asked us if we could expedite getting that report submitted and your reimbursement submitted for payment. And at this point, I think what we're recommending is that we previously have already gone through all the underground asset management stuff. The one item that was outstanding was the rate study piece. And so what we had done is prepared, I think it was like 4 or 5 page write-up that is what's going into the asset management report. And so we just, I want to make sure that there are no changes to that document requested by, the board or Wayne. And if you guys are okay with that as it stands, then we will just slip that into the report, submit it to DEP as final, and, get the reimbursement forms into
I
them.
actually thought that was the way we had left it the last time you were here, is that that was going to win, then we were gonna do something about looking at the rates further after
So
that. But
that was
one-
our recommendation last time, was that we come in and separately do a workshop with you, continue to kind of work through the next step, but not hold up the asset management.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think I showed up without the document and we weren't really prepared to sign off on it. So I'm just looking, I guess, for, clear direction that there are no additional comments or questions or concerns with that piece. Which again, you don't have to answer right now in this meeting, but if someone or Wayne could just give us the go-ahead, and I can certainly resend it if it's been a while since you've looked at it, but
Were you talking specifically about that rates?
just the rate
section?
piece. Everything else I know you guys have looked at and have been okay with, and I'm certainly happy to resubmit the entire report
So,
if you haven't
so
seen
what's the
it.
rate study?
Well, we had talked about it with him that last time he was here. They went through some of the rates, but we're not limited, we have to use those particular rates. They went through and looked at what we have.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna sit down and discuss falls again.
But the sit down is separate from the rates in that asset management report.
The asset management is more, the rate part of it is more topographical, it's not an in-depth rate study is somewhere between 25 and 30 grand.
Don't tell him that.
Well, he already knows. And that's what the typical going rate is for if you hire them, and then they go into it more in depth. They're offering to come back free and work with you on that workshop, which is a good thing. But what they did was they just looked at it topographically. They can see the debt that's coming to us, they can see our revenue that was coming in, and that's what they put into their report. So they're just asking you to vote to accept it so that they can finalize the report, because October, I think, or something, the DEP has been chasing everybody about everything.
Yeah, you're not the only community we've heard from on it, it's just,
Well,
we just don't want to get behind the 8 ball. Yeah, so I think that's a perfect summary where, the initial rate study we did was sufficient for the DEP requirements of a rate study. We then took it one step further just to incorporate all of the upgrades to the treatment system at both sites, because we didn't really feel comfortable giving a rate study that didn't look at that, when that's probably the predominant factor driving your rates moving forward.
Right.
And I think there's a recognition on our part that there's more, town-specific discussions to have, your overall philosophy, where to target, certain revenue streams. I think one thing we talked about was looking at the top users and make sure we're, identifying them correctly. But I don't think any of that needs to happen before we can say we've satisfied all of Mass DEP's requirements and kind of release the asset management plan to them. And like Wayne said, we're happy to come in and do that next step to make sure that our analysis and our spreadsheets are specific enough to West Bridgewater that's a useful tool for you. And then we can just, once we're all happy there, we can see where that, kind of goes in the future, whether you want to run with that or if you want us to continue to, be involved in the rates or.
Yeah, we have to really discuss the rates for, this fall,
Yeah. Well, that's what they're gonna come in
Okay,
to do when we schedule that.
So my understanding is we're just submitting this to DEP to appease them for this asset management. We're not completely locked into this outline.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have one recommended structure. We talked about a couple others we looked at, but the main component that they're interested in is looking at this as a capital improvement planning tool, right? We outlined all of these recommendations, all these improvements, and they wanna know how does that fit into the rate structure. So they're more looking, are you running a surplus, are you running a deficit? You know, are rate increases needed to pay for all these things you found? And in our case, we are recommending rate increases, knowing all of the capital improvements that are kind of in the horizon. So I think, we've taken that product, I think beyond what they need, just to make sure that, if we're putting the effort into it, it makes sense for it to be applicable to the above ground assets as well.
Okay.
And it has to be in a couple of months, like by October, you said?
Yeah, so I think we told
We want
DP
it
that, I was gonna, and we specifically told them I was gonna come in this month, talk to you, and that we were hoping by the end of August that we'd have that finalized, and that we'd be submitting our reimbursement paperwork in September, which gave us a little bit of buffer, knowing that they want it no later than October. So that was the time frame we gave them.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the asset management grant and rate study section as presented at the last meeting to be submitted to DEP.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So we'll proceed, and like I said, when, at whatever date works best for the board, we're happy to come in and continue working with you on, the rates. And I do think bringing the spreadsheet in so we can make adjustments live and see the impact is, a useful tool. I guess while we're on the topic of funding, as, we mentioned last time I was here, we did recently submit on your behalf to, preliminary reports for SRF funding. At this point, you're not obligated to do anything. We just put 2 projects in, one for iron and manganese treatment at the Sears Street and one for PFAS treatment at Manley Street. And we submitted essentially a pre-application, building the case for what the cost is, what the schedule is, and why the project's important. In this particular application, they score it based on tiers. We submitted them both as tier 5, which would be the highest priority projects. I think the iron and manganese application came out pretty strong. Again, we won't know until the intended use plan comes out and we see what the loan forgiveness is, whether that is something you want to move forward at that time. But you don't know until that comes out, and you don't want to miss the deadline and realize they're giving 50% back in forgiveness and you didn't apply. So we did see that. I think the state is supposed to give 49% of the total allocation out as principal forgiveness. So there is some hope that it'll be an attractive program.
Yeah, Jim from DEP actually reached out and said push to put in for the iron and manganese one,
Yeah.
as it's a, it's an up and coming contaminant.
Right. Yeah, so typically if you're looking at like secondary contaminants, they don't score well. But as an emerging contaminant, we're pushing the manganese, specifically part of the iron manganese, as an up and coming health risk, right? So it's still regulated as a secondary, but I think the industry as a whole realizes that manganese is one of these things they're going to start cracking down on. So we kind of put it out in that light is this is a priority to the town for water quality. So those were submitted prior to the deadline last Friday, and so we'll keep an eye on the list and let you guys know how it goes, and if it scores well enough, then we can go over what the logistics of applying for the loan would be.
Figuring out if it's worth it and everything else.
Right, and then that would be completely at your discretion whether you move forward or not at that point. I guess the other one, I guess we can talk about as well, 5. So I did have a conversation with Dankris. I think Wayne and I have shared some concerns with getting the electrical piece done. I'm supposed to find out this week a firm date on when the VFDs are coming in. They've been on back order. So we're trying to just nail down that. In the meantime, we've been working with them to come out and do the splice, the connection, so that if the Wayne is comfortable using the old starters with the new well pump, that at least that flexibility is here. If the need arises to use that well. And it's been a bit of a challenge getting them to come out and get that done. We've gone back and forth on a potential change order.
Why is that? Why is it difficult to get them to come out?
So-
Just to hook the thing up.
Well, I think because we saw an opportunity, we thought, to make things easier down the road and ask them to price out moving the electrical connection out of the existing control panel, which is attached to the well casing, and put it in a standalone enclosure. And the reason why we suggested that change to the design, and quite frankly, you know, in retrospect, I think if we were doing it again, we would have designed it that way in the first place. But eventually, Wayne is going to be looking to abandon that existing well, and it could, you know, it just would have been nice to get it off the well and out of the way for that. But they came back for like $27,000, which was completely unreasonable. They didn't give credits for any of the electrical wiring and enclosures they already owned in the contract. And they offered kind of a bogus credit for getting rid of the disconnect out there. So, so what our recommendation to Wayne, and I think Wayne agreed, was to not give them that money. Instead, we're asking them to get out here ASAP and put it in as how it was shown on the plans, just to kind of get the ball rolling. And the contractor, to their credit, you know, got on the phone with me and is on board, understands the frustration and the need to get out here and do it. So he was going to call Fall River. We talked, I think Thursday, him and I talked. So I would expect to hear from him early this week that, you know, Fall
So-
River's.
So what's the problem? Is there a back order on the variable speed controller?
Yeah, a very long lead time on that, and, you know, we knew that unfortunately
I
back,
mean, are we the only ones, or is everybody having trouble getting these things?
everyone.
It's-
And generators even worse, we have treatment plants.
Where do they make them?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But like I ordered a computer 5 months ago, it just arrived today. I figured that Ed had forgotten about it, but no, it arrived today. I still haven't gotten the monitor yet.
This stuff is just ridiculous.
Yeah, just when you think everything's normal, it's not. Like, we're having issues with chlorine, so I asked Kerry to double up on the order. If I have to wait 2 weeks to get it, then double up, and then we'll let it sit. We'll use it up before it goes bad.
Yeah, generators are 2 years out right now. You order a generator 2 years till you see it on site. So you can imagine how that complicates starting up a new facility,
Yeah.
where construction doesn't take 2 years. So even if you
Right.
order it the day you get the contract, it's holding things up. So it's, yeah, unfortunately, it's not a unique issue. But like I said, I do feel like we've gotten through to everybody last week. I think Wayne got through to me the sense of urgency, and I've relayed that to the contractor.
I mean, the summer's almost over. We needed it, you know, the last 2 or 3 months here.
Right,
We've been struggling to keep the water flowing with the wells being down. It's putting so much more pressure on the wells when they get drawn down that, you know, it takes more energy to lift the water out of the well because it's down lower. You know, it's just crazy.
Rather than give them the money,
understand.
they're gonna wire it up as the plan said, and then I'll hire another electrician to come in behind them later on and move it so that we can abandon the well. And I'm not gonna spend $27,000 if it shouldn't cost that. It's not, the enclosure can't cost more than $1,000 or
yeah.
less.
It's been a frustrating.
Are they just busy enough with other stuff, it's not worth it
I
to
think
them?
it's a
to-
small project
Who's,
for them.
Yeah, it's
who's
too
the
small.
electrical firm that?
So it's
did
Fall
it?
River
Fall River,
Electric,
who we've
but
had success with in the past, but yeah.
I've always used them. They're really, with VF3 drives when they were first here,
Yeah,
I couldn't find anybody to program. They were it, and they're really good at it, so I'm kinda sad. Now I've gotta go out and find somebody else.
And
Is
I think
is
that
it
would give a
Fall
call
River
to
Electric or is it dangerous?
according to
Or
Chris,
is it-
it's Fall River, but
Well,
maybe
yeah,
Maybe there's a
courtesy
translation
call.
in between, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not completely faultless. I think one of our reviews, did sit on a desk for almost 10 days, and we, take ownership for that and strive to do better than that. We thought it went out before I went on vacation. I came back to vacation, it was still there. So, obviously that's frustrating when things are tight and, we have, unforced errors, but, yeah, largely the whole thing's been pretty frustrating. But we're hopeful that we're past the worst of it, and we're gonna get the, get the good news this week, and we'll be happy to pass that along.
Okay.
So I guess regarding the iron and manganese piloting, we sent the contract out to the pilot company for their review and approval, and they're gonna get back to us on the date. It looks like probably early winter is when the pilot unit will actually be available, which is not far off from, I think, the schedule we gave Mass DEP originally. We've known for a while that every community out there is piloting for something right now, right? I mean, PFAS is rampant, so it's not unexpected. It's in line with the compliance schedule we provided DEP.
So when they do the piloting, what are they gonna require?
From you?
Yeah.
Good question. I think when we get the contract back from them, they'll give us kind of the checklist, which we'll share with you. One of the major things we have to figure out is where they're gonna set it up for each site. So I think once we get them under contract, we'll probably get them out for a site visit. Invite you, obviously, to attend that, and we can figure out logistically. They're supposed to be as self-sufficient as possible, but we'll need to aid them in collecting the raw water, and then disposing of it. But he'll do all the sampling, and all of that is included in his fee, which we included in our fee.
Power hookup for this stuff? Or-
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what he carried for that. But when we do the site visit, we'll be sure to find out what he needs for hookups. It's Eric Broughton. Has he been out here for you guys?
I've been here 17 years, we haven't done any piloting.
Okay, yeah. He's the number one guy we call for everything. He's done all of them. So, we're happy to bring him out on site, meet with Wayne. As soon as he's under contract, I'm sure he'll be happy to.
Yeah, just to make sure they don't show up with the unit and suddenly we have 2 weeks because they don't have any way to
Yeah.
get power to it or something.
Right, yeah. We'll make sure we're coordinated well in advance. Like I said, I don't think the unit's showing up till December. So we'll have some time to get him on site and coordinate with him well before then. Identify any potential pitfalls. But DEP did require us, we're gonna do most of the testing on, I think the Norman site.
Yeah.
But they did want us to then move the unit over to the Sears site, just to prove, typically if we're blending, we pick the worst site, but one had worse iron, the other one had worse
Yeah.
manganese,
Yeah.
so we're doing it on both. So that's where that one stands. And then for the PFAS project, we have submitted to DEP the preliminary permitting for the short-term improvement. So once we get any feedback from them on the permit and the preliminary design, we will incorporate their comments and then get a set of bid documents to you for review. And that will include the plans, specifications, and then any requirements that DEP has would be included in our contract for the contractor. Usually put it in the appendix and cite in special project procedures that this is part of the contract and all requirements in this are inherently part of your contract too. So once we have that feedback, we anticipate we'll be able to turn that around into final documents pretty quickly.
So basically waiting for DEP.
Yep.
On that, everything that we need there is there.
I think you submitted to change from MIOX to sodium hypochlorite.
So we did not. So that was, I think, a little confusing the way they made us do the chemical checklist.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to hold up their approval of getting the filter transferred over and getting the short-term PFAS going. And we were confident that if we did the shift from MIOX to hypo, they would come back and ask us to do some pilot testing to show what that chemical change would be.
Yeah.
So the chemical checklist you saw, even though it says hypochlorite on it, was actually to continue using MIOX, but they don't have a separate checklist for it. So that's why it was, somewhat confusing. So what we are proposing to do is continue to use Myox, but because we're replacing one of the pumps to be a better match for your feed needs, and to maintain operation of both dosing locations. So as I think we discussed, there's already 2 pumps there with the ability to either inject Myox prior to the green sand filters, or there's an injection port just prior to going out to the distribution system. The pumps are oversized to be used as post-chlorination, so by putting in a 3rd pump that's correctly sized, but the others are too large, and maintaining that, we'll be able to chlorinate both before and after filtration. And that, even though we opine that flexibility has always been in place, because it's a new pump with a different pumping rate, we still have to submit that as a change to the chemical feed system with DEP. So we think it's largely, I don't know, procedural, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And the media we're putting in can accept a little bit of chlorine? We don't have to
Yes.
we don't have to dechlorinate.
Right, so we're not dechlorinating, we're still recommending optimization of Myox
Yeah.
pre-filtration, so we're not carrying a ton through, but the media we're using is rated, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, I looked it up after our last meeting.
But basically,
Yeah,
the
it's
dechlor is off the table by using that.
Exactly, so we don't need to dechlor, we're just gonna dial in, the Myox before the filtration, and then we now have the ability to post-chlorinate, to hit whatever residual goals, the water department has.
So this pilot study, what type of media are they gonna be testing with? Do they have multiple types of?
Yeah, for the iron and manganese, we're going to be looking at biological as well as using, the typical activated carbon media.
The green sand?
Oh, sorry, yeah, we're gonna do green sand plus and then biological, yeah. On the PFAS, we're using the Advantage media, and then we haven't moved forward with the pilot testing because the data's look better, but there, when we pilot, if we ever need to pilot there, we'll see how the short term goes. But that would be the ion exchange and the activated carbon there.
So are they gonna change the green sand out for the short term, or is that part of the long term?
No, again, because we have to pilot test it.
Alright,
And if we had to pilot anything, we could have lost, especially in this climate, 9 months to a year.
yeah,
And the whole point of it being a short-term solution was to get it done quick.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to eliminate hurdles that we felt like weren't worth the time.
Well, at least our numbers seem to be holding lower,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so there's still, I think in the teens, last I checked, right?
yeah, we're still running around 13,
13,
14.
14, yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't had any rain, so there's no surface water or anything coming at us, we're drawing from down under now.
It was funny though, I just saw, I don't remember what town, one of the other towns around just sent out the PFAS notice, and they were saying it was because it's been so dry and they're drawing it down more, and now they're pulling,
Right.
they must be pulling from somewhere different, so
You know,
Mhm.
you don't know unless you actually can identify exactly. where it's
yeah, I was
coming from.
speaking with the DEP lady today, and she said that they've done tests on one site, they went and looked, but there's no way to trace it back to any one thing unless something stood out.
Yeah, the woman, the attorney there for that class action suit was saying, if it was a very specific type of foam by one manufacturer, they might be able to find somehow something in the testing they can do, but it's almost like just rolling the dice,
Yeah.
hoping that's, you caught the right one from that batch, because she says they're all so much, there's little differences here and there, so it's tough to be able to do it.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I don't know, the whole thing's a nightmare for communities all over the state. It's really unfortunate.
That doesn't sound good. It sounds like we're gonna end up pulling in the bag. You can't blame anybody.
Well, what they'll do is they'll just, every place that ever manufactured it, they'll
Right.
go after. You know, as opposed to going after this guy for this site and this one for the other site, they'll just go after everybody, and anyone doesn't go bankrupt will have to pay into a fund,
Mhm.
basically, like they did with the
Everything else.
MTBE.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ended that quick, the use of that.
Oh, sorry, there is another project we're working on, which is the tank project.
I was gonna bring it
Yeah.
up if you tried to walk out.
No, I'm not going anywhere until you release it. So for that one, what we're doing is, as you know, we've done hydraulic modeling in town before, so we're converting it to an extended period simulation. So what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks is updating the model to have the operating parameters of the well sites and the existing settings for the tank. And then we've been inputting typical diurnal curves to kind of simulate a daily use of water to show, the peak usage and the low usage times. And, we're still in the process of getting all that set up. And when we feel like we have that all balanced and properly representing the system, then what we'll do is start running the simulations for for the proposed conditions. And at that point, we'll probably reach out, to Wayne, just to kind of meet with him, say this is what the model is showing, is there anything that looks like, different from your observations in reality. But we should be hopefully done with that step in the next couple of weeks and ready to kind of start mapping out the proposed conditions. Once we're comfortable, we have the existing system modeled. An extended period. I think that covers them now.
Anybody got any other questions for me?
No, just let us know when that asset management grant one goes in, so we
Absolutely,
don't miss the deadline.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, with your blessing, we'll get that in. There's no hesitation on our part. So we'll finalize, get that in. Wayne will be copied in the correspondence with DEP, and then he'll have a reimbursement form to review shortly thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like you said, when you guys are ready for a more comprehensive workshop, we can schedule that and what the format looks like, whether
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting to sit down and discuss how we gotta do something with our rates, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can look ahead, make sure one that all three of us can be at easy enough.
Yeah.
Either do it, I don't know if we do it in a meeting, it would be better to set up a special meeting. That's the only thing we cover, because that could take a while.
That could take a
it
while.
could be. I would say I would recommend scheduling an hour, and depending on how much fun you're having, it could be more.
I think more just because there's so much going on with our rates.
Yeah.
And we wanna make sure it goes through, we're comfortable.
Yeah. I could easily see it going a few hours.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your time, and then whether you're ready for the next meeting or need some more time, we'll coordinate that.
Yeah.
All right, well, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay. So Wayne, we've covered the new business. Under the old business, what haven't we discussed there that you have some news about?
So the Lincoln Street warehouse, so we drafted up a letter, but I'm not sure, so I'll have to ask you guys, am I supposed to be signing it, or should you be signing it? I mean, you voted.
We voted to allow you to sign the letter.
Okay,
But
alright, yep, I'll sign it.
So was that in the meeting?
That you
They weren't here, yeah.
Okay, so what do we send them a letter telling them?
That we agreed to their plans,
The motion is right at the bottom of that letter, actually.
After brief discussions, Commissioner Cragen made a motion to approve the connection from West End Street to Lincoln Street Station.
182 plus.
Oh, alright, that's
That
fine.
just defined where
When
it was.
I only read as far as station, I'm like, there's no station out there. But yeah, it's the 182 feet plus 25,
Yeah,
as shown on the plans. Water Commission Cabral seconded the motion. So they showed the water line going all the way down to where we want it was shown originally. It shows it coming across in the sidewalk. They've provided hydrants as they should. There's proper gating as there should be. And then they just wanted to move forward with this before they moved into discussions on continuing in lieu of fees.
So is this going down inside the sidewalk or are
Yes.
they out in the street?
No, if it's not in the sidewalk, it's right on the edge.
I think it's in the sidewalk.
Yeah, the only place it was in the street is like up where they're making the connections coming across.
Yes.
Until they get over, then they get over, they're either right under the edge of the sidewalk or
Yeah.
under the sidewalk.
Yeah, being out on 106, they, you know,
They got no choice
They have no
coming
choice
across.
out there, but Lincoln Street, that's where, you know, they have
They
a lot of.
had a concern because I guess the gas main is on that side also. So there'll be places where they'll be close to the gas main, which wouldn't be anything new.
Gas company always on the side of,
Well, in this case, they're already there. We're coming in after them.
But it doesn't run the whole length down either, does that?
But
I
usually-
thought that was only.
usually
up to
we're
the first
already
one.
there and they come in and put
I-
their stuff on top of us.
Wasn't sure whether, because I know they're running up Pleasant Street, but I don't think they're coming up Lincoln. I think they're just coming up Pleasant Street.
Yeah, that's something, I think, like rumors anyway, is something going up near, to Charlie was, old Charlie
Yeah,
was.
no, they are running it. They're
To
currently
run
running it
like
up.
a gas fill station for
Oh, all right.
vehicles, for Amazon or something like that.
What's that? What are they doing?
That's why they need a big main and they need a lot of gas in there is what. the
I was
rumor
wondering why suddenly they were running it through a swamp. There's nothing up there.
They were- The rumor was something of, because Amazon's got the place
In Bridgewater.
in Bridgewater, they got a place down in Fall River, and I
Yeah.
think they got a place up in Stoughton, or they're putting one in, something, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
in between, so they convert their trucks to natural gas, and they need a place to fill them overnight. They're
So
talking
they've been
about it
permitted
being.
somewhere in
Yeah,
town?
I haven't heard that they've been permitted, but that was the rumor, that was what they were gonna be applying to this.
So
But they needed the gas, you need
Yeah.
a bunch.
So they need this, they're gonna go through the swamp down by Greta Bohannon?
Yeah,
They're
they are
going,
coming
they're
up
doing it
currently.
now,
How they doing it now?
Yeah,
and it's what, that size pipe.
yeah, it's good size.
Really?
They're on the western side of it, coming up.
Probably a good time, it's probably driest it's ever.
I was
been.
gonna say, if you were ever gonna dig a trench down that stretch of
Yeah.
road, this summer was the time to do it.
Yep. I wish they were putting a water main in there instead of a gas main, but
Yeah.
that would've connected that.
How much pipe you got on the yard, Wayne?
Not enough to do it. I was gonna say, cause it's hay baled off, the whole thing is ready to go.
Just, little midnight pipe laying, sneak
Yeah.
in. Dig up the patch, lay it on top of their pipe, and put the
Yeah.
patch back down. Probably wouldn't work.
No, that's what they do to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, that's exactly what they do to us forever. Anything else, Wayne?
I haven't heard anything, so the Gallagher thing with Ross Messina, they're trying to come in another way. They're looking to come through some parcel in there. I think they're trying to come in through West Bridgewater
I mean,
now.
like another entrance
Yeah,
road
off of
instead of the
Walnut
one off
Street.
Brockton.
Yeah, the last thing I saw was they were trying to come in another way.
Near where we put them, because they were bringing the water main in.
It
Down
might
near the
have
power
some,
line,
yeah,
right?
it was pretty vague, but there's some parcel there that they wanna come through, cause I think they're still fighting with Brockton and they're kinda giving up on that.
So it's kind of basically on hold for now.
Yeah, I think so, while they go through planning, or I forget where I saw it appear at.
They had a planning board meeting, special meeting
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. And it didn't go well with one of the roads that they wanted to put in, was they were trying to make it a road but call it a private way and.
Yeah, the planning board didn't like that, their verbiage. And I know the planning board kept telling them what to do and they weren't doing it. I know the planning board is really good.
Right.
and they were telling them one thing and they were doing another, so the last I saw, there's some vacant parcel, there's some parcel they're trying to come through.
Right.
So that'll be a while off.
Yeah.
And how you doing with the water restriction? How we doing with,
So unless I start going out there, everybody's smarter than us. But I can see by usage, you know, some people have toned it down, some people just won't. They just,
how much you pumping a day now?
so we're down, so on the days when they're allowed, it jumps up to 1 million gallons. On the days they're not, it fluctuates in the 8s to 9s, more in the 8s.
Oh, that's
So
not too
it's-
bad.
It's coming back a little. I mean, I don't know. My lawn's deader than anything, so I don't care.
We used to jump up to 1.5 million, 1.6 million on
Yeah.
a peak day, so. that's
But
not
there are
bad.
so many new, like, every new house is bigger and they all have irrigation systems. So we've added a couple hundred. You know, in the beginning, it was probably just Stony and Copper Beach and Sycamore and Oak. But now everybody, any new development has a big house and they've all got sprinklers, and then the warmer it gets, the more they run them. You drive by and it's midday and they're running them away. They just run them for hours on end. They're not doing it the way they should. So you're teaching your grass that it doesn't need to go very deep to find water, so you have shallow roots. So when you cut the water off, it's gonna die instantly because you shallow rooted it. You did it to yourselves. But
Well, eventually we'll end up, you know, not allowing outside watering. The only trouble with that is,
that's the,
That's
I
where the
understand
state
the other
wants
side
to
of it,
go.
that's where the revenue comes from, but
I know, that cuts down the revenue.
they're harming our
Because the same
infrastructure to
people
keep up with it.
that use all the water, they complain that they got a big bill.
I think it was probably more getting their bills that slowed them down than the water ban. I don't think the water ban had any effect, they just went to doing it at night when I can't see it. And the bills probably sticker shocked them, because they were really out of control, it's not.
Oh, it adds up fast.
Yeah.
The best way to cut back water usage is when they have to pay for it. If they're paying for it and they're, you know, they're paying the true cost of what it costs, they're gonna slow down.
And when we sit down with Tater and Howard, it might be finding a third tier to keep them in check.
Yeah.
That if you do what you've been doing, you're gonna hit that third tier and you're not gonna like it.
That's what we could do, is just, you know, let people have a reasonable amount of watering, but when it gets excessive, that they get whacked with a higher
That's
rate.
what'll be good with them, coming with that spreadsheet they've set up with how everything will hit the structures.
Right.
Because that way we can play with it and really see what's going on with it. And that will be helpful, assuming we can make that thing work with him, when he brings in his laptop and tries to plug it in.
Yeah, we should be able to. Things got a little better. It's not like the old days. The other, I mean, we can look in advance to see where the band is. I mean, you know the neighborhoods to look at, and you can look at those houses and their sprinklers, and you can see their usage jump from, you know, like the fall when they're not using anything, or the winter time, to the summertime when it goes to, oh my God, they won't shut it off.
We're gonna send out some fines.
So the other thing is, I was gonna ask you to waive the first fine so we don't hit them, but anybody who incurs a second fine, then they get both of them. But only you guys can do that, I can't do that. I mean, there are probably about 30 or more first fines out there. And there's probably under 10 seconds, but there's one individual in Harvestwood who just doesn't get it. And you could have a well and thinks he doesn't have to call, so we changed the notice so it says you have 7 days to
But he says he has,
argue it. He hasn't said anything, he's not responding to us at all. And he's not shutting off the sprinklers, because unfortunately, that's my route into work every day, so I get to see it.
What's the thinking behind not charging the first fines?
It's just a matter of, it's not about finding them, I don't think it's, because you're not gonna make a lot of money, although we might make up the $50 that we gave to letting copper people. But it's more compliance, you know,
Some people are like, that are calling, they're like, oh my God, I was on vacation, I had no idea. Or, you know, I got the notice and I read it wrong, I thought it was like this day to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a mistake, you know what I mean? It's not someone, but those people.
Well, we do that with the demand charges a lot of times.
Yeah,
So when somebody's late.
Yeah.
I never thought, I've had to pay demand charges half a dozen times because I forgot to pay the bill. I never even dawned on me to
call.
ask,
Yeah,
but, I don't know.
Are you getting a lot of calls, Karen?
Yeah.
From those
yeah,
30+
I
people?
do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do, I probably got, well, I mean, a lot of calls to me is like 8 or 9, that's a lot to me.
and honestly, some people probably were on vacation when it, you know, took effect. And
So what do you think? Hit him with a second?
How much is the first fine?
So the first fine is 50, and then
The second fine's 100.
the second fine's 100, and I'm not sure where it goes after that.
And we can vote to waive the first and add it in, or is the actual ordinance written specifically?
So I didn't, Deborah actually read the ordinance, I didn't.
Well,
But, so also your rules and regulations have a different set of fine structures, which are more, but they need to be worked on, because they were probably copy and pasted from other towns to be put together, because when the tanks were being painted, people wouldn't shut off their sprinklers then either, and that was a dire thing, where we need them shut down.
so the water department's rules and regulations are different than the town bylaws,
Right.
big difference,
But which ones go out then?
town bylaws.
So right now, we've posted the town bylaw ones on our poster.
The lower ones.
Yeah.
So between the first and second notice, is there a certain amount of days that,
So I know that it's 2 days, so every time we mailed out a notice, I mailed a notice to my house, so my mailman probably looking at my lawn going, what the hell is he sprinkling that he's getting these violations? But I know it's 2 days. The minute we drop it in the mail, it's 2 days and it's at their door.
How long before you send the next one?
So I'm usually waiting like 4 days.
okay.
But it requires effort to go out and start finding them, so
Yeah.
at this point, you're gonna incur overtime to have somebody come with me, because I'm the guy who's gonna sit here and face them when they
Well,
come
wasn't
in.
that, you said they were refused the overtime for, was that the thing from, at the last meeting?
No.
I remember you were looking for the guys to do something.
That was to hang up the signs, I couldn't get them for the
Oh,
signs. So I just went out and did it on my own, because they needed to get up.
Yeah, I kept standing up the one at the corner of Manly and West, he kept, laying it down.
Oh, somebody was probably laying it down, because they don't fall.
No, they don't fall easy.
No, none of the others have fallen over.
No, I go by there,
Yes,
pull over, stand it back up, 2 days later, laying down again.
Yeah, there's a couple of streets up off of Upper Walnut that are, it's pretty green, it's evident who's not and who is.
Yeah, you don't have to see it running, you can just see the grass.
Yeah.
Now, are you sure these people don't have wells?
So that's another issue. You need something to force the people with wells to put their signs out, because truly the people are driving around and they see, like Harvestwood, there are 3 residents with private wells. So the rest of the residents can all see that and like, well, they're all doing it. And I can understand the mentality there, but they don't understand that they have wells, and when we've asked them to put out signs, well, do I have to put out a sign? No, currently I can't force you to put out a sign, so I don't know how that works, but.
I thought the state had a regulation, they had to have if you were on a private well, you had to have a sign.
Yeah,
I'll look to see if
I'm
there's-
almost positive I've seen that somewhere before.
All right, because I know Brockton, I think Brockton registers them. So anyone who calls in and tells us, we're putting it in our system so that we don't issue them further violations.
Okay.
Like the guy down here.
I asked a long time ago that whenever a well got drilled, because usually they go to the Board of Health to get it approved. And I asked, that we keep a permanent record of that so that we know where the private wells were. And people said, no, they didn't want the water department to know if they had a private well. I don't know why, but, you know, they just,
Well, I'm looking at.
But if we send them a fine, they come back and say, well, we've got a private well.
Right, well, I wanna make sure that they're
You
not
don't
cross-connected also, I
Yeah.
don't, and so far I haven't found anything, you know, basically they're tied in basically for their sprinkler systems.
well, one thing you can't do is say you're gonna fine people and then not fine them. You know, if you threaten something, you gotta carry
The
it
first
through.
fine's only $50.
It's not a
I
lot,
mean, I'd be inclined to just leave it on just to make sure people remember.
alright.
Unless you really think there's a reason to.
No, I mean, there are a few people that were apologetic, and then there are the people that, I can just imagine the gesture they're giving us.
It's all right.
I think- Personally, I think that where this whole thing kinda came up because we were misreading our permit, you know, we were kinda,
They won't be very happy if they wake up some morning and they turn the faucet on and nothing comes out of it.
Right.
So,
but
I'm not gonna worry about how they feel if they don't get to water their grass.
I feel like where we made a mistake, we can forgive a mistake, so I'd be of the thought that waiving the first one and then hitting the second one, cause they've been told.
Yeah, so next year so we're gonna make sure that the CCR goes out early, and in it will be the water ban notice, again with all the rules, so they'll be notified prior to May 1st. So we'll make sure that we publish it before May 1st, so it hits in time. And I think the bill goes out in May too, so they'll get 2 notices in a row saying that, you know, you're down to 2 days, and that'll be up to you guys too. You're allowed to be more stringent. I mean, the stream flow, I watched the stream flow, it did drop off to almost nothing, and then Taunton must have got a rainstorm, so the stream flow came back up. I haven't looked at it again, but I know it bounces up and down depending upon when they get a rainstorm. But it has to be, I think it's 7 consecutive days that it has to be up before you can release it.
But I mean, it's not like any of these fines are for anybody that, you know, they were using it before we gave out the notice. The notice is
Right.
out, and we had the signs out with all
Right.
this before we actually
Yeah.
went to it, so.
So what are we gonna do? We're gonna send the fines out, both of them, the first and second inspector would get paid?
I mean, I'm inclined to charge that first fine.
I am too.
Again, I do think you're right. If you say you're gonna do it and then you don't do it.
Yeah, as a parent, I agree, you say you gotta do something.
Yeah.
But where we kinda made a mistake, not knowing our permit, I kinda feel like, you know, an eye for an eye, we made a mistake not knowing that we were
Well, they've been
supposed to
doing
be
it for
under.
so long, it's just that there are just too many houses with the systems now. It's a burden to the system.
Well, we let people do it as long as we feel like we can handle it.
Right.
When it gets to a point where they're taking so much water that the system can't keep up, then you have to tell them, no, we have to stop. And when they ignore you, you gotta do something about it. So,
And right now,
and when we ask them to stop, they gotta stop, but, you know, we let them do it as long as we feel that we can produce the water. When we get to the point where we can't produce the water, they gotta believe us and they gotta stop, or, you know, you gotta find them.
yeah, because right now I've got to blend station 1 to keep that in check.
Yeah.
And then station 4, I've been without that well now for I don't know how many, like, that's 4 years now.
But fingers crossed that nothing,
I,
and things have been working
Yeah.
pretty much, so.
Alright, then we'll leave that alone. Alright, so we had a call form hit on August 1st, it was the tank in my house. And it was a low count, there was 1 and a 2 count for total call form.
What happened, somebody put their thumb in the bottle or something?
Well, it's been so hot, and you've got, 5.5 million gallons of water up in the air heating up. It's almost it's a hit or miss kind of thing, but, I mean, I can smell at times the residual at my house, and other times I don't. But we got this far, and, you know, listening to the DEP lady, I guess that a lot of towns have been taking hits because of the heat, and it drives the residual down too, so. But I've already turned in all the paperwork, the level one's already done, so,
So in compliance with everything? No?
yes.
Okay.
We have 2 customers, so part of, when the water ban was high, there was somebody that I wanted to see their bill, and that's when we found out that we had an issue with a couple of our meters not transmitting. And looking deeper, we had an issue with, some of the meters weren't loading to be read. But it's a hidden thing until you look for it, and because I looked, and luckily it was one of the customers that, it wasn't transmitting, that we found a problem. So we've been working through and we pretty much fixed most of that. I've sent out 2 demand letters now to get into their houses to change the meter. One of the customers finally called in today to make an appointment. The 3rd customer, we may have to terminate to get in. So this Thursday, if I haven't heard from that customer, then I'm gonna send out a notice to terminate and a certified letter also, letting them know that on a specific date that I'm gonna terminate, that they'll own the cost of the detail cost, all the equipment and anything involved with that. And that they're only terminated until they let us in to change the meter out. So technically, it's not, we're not creating a Board of Health issue, they're only terminated as long as they won't let us in to change out the meter.
And that meter, we're not getting any reading from?
We're not getting any meter reading. We did get in for an actual read, but after that, so they have a, we're on camera, so I don't. They did get a bill.
For basic?
No, they got the real bill this time. So they were truly, we got multiple calls for water main breaks because of this resident. I happened to drive by that house because it's between me, my house, and my mother's house. And I witnessed the sprinklers running for 4 or 5 hours at a whack. And that was just like on a morning or an evening run, not both combined. So they were freely letting water pour down the street.
Okay,
Truly,
well,
we
then,
got repeated calls.
if they're gonna do that, then, just shut them off. You just shut the valve off out there, they can't turn it back on. If they do, then go out there and cut it off.
So I was just letting you know that on Thursday, if they haven't called in, that I will be sending them out a notice.
Okay? That's what you gotta do.
How many meters like that were there?
So there were 2 that weren't transmitting. The others, we found the bug that was within the system that was preventing them from loading, so. And on an ongoing basis, we're gonna watch for anybody who gets a basic bill to backtrack it to make sure that the readings are changing. Part of the rules and regulations stipulate to let the residents know, I mean, obviously they don't read them, but it lets them know that we only see the meter when we install it, that it's up to them to keep track of their bill and the readings on their meter to make sure that they're, you know.
Coincide.
Right.
But no one does.
Right, I understand, but if you're literally pouring water down and creating a wetlands somewhere, it's more than $55.
Has that person been notified about is this one of the people on the?
So he's received 2 letters, yes. I mean, so he's well aware of it, because obviously the other resident got his letters.
Anything on the solar?
So I reached out to, it's not Dufresne anymore, it's Stantec. So there is no record of the study. I mean, they could reach out to George, but it would be whatever George had in his memory. There's nothing, there's no file to gather information from.
Well, with this bill that the president's gonna be signing, there's a lot of money coming out for solar and
Right.
everything. I'll be surprised if they don't have it for towns and stuff.
I think so, but I still think that if you work with a solar company, they'll do the legwork for you. like, the systems are typically sized to your usage, so that, like, when they put in my system, I was not allowed to put in the biggest thing I could, so I'd make a ton of money off them for the 10 years I get money. It was sized to what my use or demand was, I couldn't upsize it. Just so happened at that time, I had like 8 people living with me, so my usage was way up.
Well, they, when I put mine in, they had a limit of 12.4 kW or something a day or something like that.
Yeah, I think mine is like 15, but that was, at the time, my hot water heater element was bad, and I had a ton of people living with me, so it was, you know, my
Using a
usage
lot.
was way up.
Yeah, for a single family home, that was, they had a limit. I just told them, just go up to the limit, whatever it is. And you don't produce, that's what the system's 100%, and not everything's 100%, so you usually produce, you don't produce 12, you do
Yeah.
10 or 11 is about the highest I've ever seen it. You don't peak out.
Alright, so on the other thing, food waste processing. So the town's asked us to send a no trespass. I'm not sure that they're actually trespassing, but they do have stuff stored on our land.
That's trespassing.
So,
They had to trespass to put it there.
Yeah, so, what's this? What are you talking about?
Wayne just sent out some emails, this is the first I saw was a couple of emails going around.
right, so they're, the KLM, or I forget who it is, but they're 318 Manley Street, set up
It's
a.
the EOMS or something?
Yeah, that's it. They used to do the paper pickup, and that's what the dumpsters that are sitting all over the Brockton side of the site are. And it looks like they just do dumpster repair up there, because that's what it sounded like. But on the West Bridgewater land, they've set up a food processing site, because Brockton would have never permitted it. And West Bridgewater didn't have a chance to permit it either, because they didn't bother to tell anybody. So the town is chasing them on other fronts. But on our front, they just have, you know, like some dumpsters, and they're empty and they're clean, and some fencing stored on our property. But they've also graded part of our thing. When they graded the site, they're probably about 10 foot into our land.
So where's that? Right up here in the,
Yeah, Oak Hill Way,
Oak Hill Way.
yes.
well, if they're on our property?
Yeah, well, they have some stuff stored. It's probably while they were grading out their main site, or I don't know why they haven't picked it up and pulled it off.
Doesn't matter. Send the police up there and tell them to get it off the property.
Yeah.
Tell them to get it out of there. You gotta go to the police station, tell them,
Yeah.
it's our property, tell them to get it off of there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
It shouldn't be there.
it shouldn't,
That's
put a letter to them that says that any damage to the property will have to be restored at a.
I mean, that's
said later.
they're right in our, zone 2 there.
Yeah,
That whole thing is a zone 2, even on the Brockton side. They shouldn't be doing any of that in there.
Right, so the DEP, so the lady from DEP, I was having a heart attack, because when they said it to me, she was here about odor complaints. I'm like, oh, what the heck, somebody. So I come racing back, but it had to do with the waste, the food waste, didn't have to do with our water. So it was an actual easy meeting.
Well, that's all we need, is somebody doing something like that right on top of, I mean, that's where our water comes from.
Right, so listening to her, and she used to be a West Bridgewater resident, so basically on the DEP side, their permit's fine. If they did anything, maybe they forgot to send a letter to the Board of Health, but on their front, all they have to do is resend the letter so that they've notified the Board of Health that they were in there doing that. I asked her about it because the food is a known source of PFAS. But once again, there's nothing they can do according to their permitting, they're fine. They can chase them for odor complaints, which we were beginning to smell stuff down here, but we just figured it was the waste treatment plant, but it wasn't, it was actually them. And I didn't realize that till the day I was up there. On one side of the pile it didn't smell, but when you got onto the other side of the pile, boy did it reek. And then I came back here and you could still smell it.
I remember years ago, I caught, who was that contractor there? It was up on Turnpike Street. He was cutting our trees down and everything. It was our property, and he's in there taking gravel. Oh, I thought it was mine. I said, no, it's not yours. you know you're on our property. Yeah, he was taking the gravel and selling it, and, yeah.
Yeah, we went through,
You wanna make sure you know right where the line is when you go up there and tell them, anything on our property, get it off.
yeah, there's no stakes up there, so we went up with Deborah and her equipment and we were able to walk the line.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I logged in that link that you gave us.
Yep.
Took a look.
And she did a good job with her
She did.
report, and that kicked off a whole pile of emails between all the town boards.
Well, yeah, because I guess they're trying to get conservation to send them a cease and desist, and to
Is
go
it
over and look at it, and
Right.
then what Mike White was saying, he doesn't think it's allowed anyway.
Right.
Just by the zoning, the recycling's not allowed. But then, I guess there's a question about it, so, but according to Gagny, he can either stop it for that. If it's not allowed, he can stop it, period. If it is allowed, they didn't go through site plan
Right,
reviews.
they didn't.
Supposedly, he can stop either one of them.
Yeah, there are like 3 ways I think that they
Yeah.
can stop them now.
But yeah, have them get the stuff out of
Yeah, 'cause
our.
I remember,
Well, there isn't a worse place that they could be doing it.
yeah, I don't know if
Yes,
you remember back, but they actually were trying to get to you guys to get them to sell land a while back. It was like a couple of years back.
Trying to get us to sell them land?
Yeah. They needed more land, and it was for that, the
So
purpose that
If
they're in
we didn't
there.
sell it, they'll just take it, right?
Right,
If
well, that's the thing.
if that was at West Bridgewater, we would have taken it a long time ago.
Right,
And any of that land that was up there, we were gonna take it by eminent domain, because we took all of it.
well, there was one
Oh, it was
parcel you
gifted
didn't
to
grab,
us,
one
all that
parcel
land.
didn't get grabbed.
We own everything right down right down the
Yeah.
town line, everything on the West Bridgewater side, we own it.
Except for one parcel.
Yeah, one little tiny piece there.
That's where they set up in.
Yeah, but I always kept tabs on them over there.
Yeah, well, it's,
That's
mean, I
right
had
along
no
the
idea.
railroad tracks.
yeah, when you go out there, you have no idea, because you're just standing in dirt and trees, so with her equipment, it was easy. She said, all right, here's the line, and then we found the corner, and then we walked the line.
Did you put any flagging or anything up? Just
So I haven't yet, but we might have to go back and put up stakes. I know she's on vacation, so I don't.
Is that what, if they start arguing about it?
Yeah, I'd flag it so that any of the other boards who have question about it,
Yeah,
that they could go out there on their own, and go out and look at it.
Was there a marker at the corner already, or just?
no,
found-
there's
She
nothing.
just found the corner with the,
Yeah.
there wasn't a bound or anything like
Right,
that?
no, there's nothing out there.
Pretty good that she's got that good of equipment now, huh?
Yeah, because you stand out there and I'm like, all right, I have no idea, because you don't, it's just earth.
All right. All right, anybody got anything else that they wanna bring up?
Nope.
Terry, when's the next meeting gonna be?
It's actually gonna be on Tuesday, September 6th.
Tuesday, when?
September 6th, because the
Okay.
Monday is Labor Day.
Yep.
What's that, right near Labor Day?
Mm-hmm.
The day after.
Yeah, because the voting day actually got moved, it's usually on a Monday and it got moved to a Tuesday.
If no one has anything else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Right?